UFC 308 was this weekend, and we had to witness Ilia Topuria knock out Max Holloway to keep his featherweight championship. I don't care. Max Holloway got KO'd. You can see the CT just dripping in. He's starting to stutter like Tito Ortiz. And now our favorite fighters are finally retiring. It's crazy that like I've been an NFL fan for a while. I've seen a bunch of NFL like legends come and go, but the UFC has been a sport for such a little amount of time that all the actual real legends are finally starting to are getting older and starting to regress, and it's getting sad. So we're gonna be doing a recap, and yeah, there's gonna be a somber ass recap. I can't lie. But starting off, we're doing only the main card today. Shara Magomedov versus Armen Petrosyan. Now, I know everyone says it's a cool KO. You know, everyone was kind of zoned out until round 2 in the late stages where it was a random KO and everyone had no clue what it was. But I feel like people are kind of forgetting about the other 10 minutes that were happening before then. Armen Petrosyan was having a close kickboxing match with Shara Magomedov. Armen Petrosyan, a shitty wrestler who's showed nothing but incompetence on the feet, was having close round 1. And I know he was mixing up his clinch striking and stuff. He was doing a little mix and matching, but I just think when you're Shara Magomedov, who's marketed as this crazy kickboxer who can do a bunch of spinning bullshit, I think you should knock out Armen Petrosyan in the first round. And dude, they're giving Shara Magomedov baby steps up. Like, he's starting off with Anthony Tricoli, like Mackenzie Dern's weird ass husband right now. And now you're giving him Armen Petrosyan, who's baby steps up. Like, that's not much. It's not much different than a Anthony Tricoli win. I'm sorry, but Shara Magomedov is calling out Israel Adesanya after his fight, and it was a cool KO. It was a cool 360, just bullshit spinning stuff, but I've noticed with Shara Magomedov, it's weird. It's like he'll just be doing nothing for and I know his strikes do a little bit of damage, but it seems like he's so unpowerful and he's just doing the Israel Adesanya just bounce around, touch him, and glance around. And I just think that eventually Shara is gonna find a striker even who's way better than him, who is able to close the distance. And when looking at the middleweight rankings, there's not many guys I'd say would lose to Shara Magomedov. I think Shara Magomedov's best matchup right now in the middleweight division in the rankings is Jack Hermanson. I still think Jack Hermanson will have a really good chance against Shara. So I just think that it was a cool KO, and I hate to be a negative Nancy, but I feel like every fight of Shara's, I'm just unimpressed. He's just doing these little teat shots where it's not really doing any damage, and then you'll eventually find a super strong shot that the other guy wasn't expecting. And I think it's really good that he's doing it against guys like Armen Petrosyan, but this is the worst of the UFC. Bruno Silva, his debut, who is not really looking too much of a good win right now, is his best win, which is really sad that he, speaking of which, lost to Ismail Nauriev, who is coming off of a lost debut. So I just think Shara Magomedov's overrated, and I know that's nothing new, but yeah, I think it was a cool KO, but let's pump the brakes. Speaking of pumping the brakes, I do think Lerone Murphy is a really good talent in the UFC. I think he's definitely a top 10 guy, but going to a really close war with Dan Ige is just not a good look for your career. Guys like Kelvin Kattar, guys like, who else has done it? I forgot who else has done it, but a lot of people have made Dan Ige kind of look simple, and Lerone Murphy, even though he had a really good first round, other than Dan Ige swarming him, and it was a tough fight for Lerone Murphy. He really had to inch out a win here, but watching this fight, you kind of have to really outpoint Dan Ige. You really have to put on a statement against him to show that you're top notch. And I know Dan Ige won in a close fight with Diego Lopez, but that is a completely different matchup. And it was on 1 hour notice where Diego Lopez was doing a whole bunch of shenanigans that was distracting him. So I'm not really going to blame him. Dan Ige, I know he's a tough fighter. I know he's in the prime of his career, but Lerone Murphy, I just think he was getting knocked down. I think he wasn't really you would expect Lerone Murphy to be this Leon Edwards type of guy who's so robotic in his movements, who's so careful, but there's times where he'll just start swinging and stuff, and with these British guys, you can't start doing that because his chin isn't really there. It's not bad, but it's not like fully there where you can be trading and swinging, and I think his ability to create space and stuff is kind of shit. I mean, Dan Ige in the first round, if he would have kept up the same pace, and I know it's really hard to do that when you have a guy like busting you up, but Dan Ige kind of lost his pace by round two. He looked to have a better gas tank in the Diego Lopez fight than he did in this fight. And I know he's pushing the pace a lot in round one, but it just seemed like Dan Ige kind of started to slither away, and Lerone Murphy was just able to barely get the better of it. And I think here's some matchups he can win in the featherweight division. He called out Josh Emmett. I do think that is probably the best matchup for him because he is that type of guy to, just run away and shit. So, but I do think Josh Emmett would be counted out in that fight, and he would have a good chance. I think if one of these punches lands, I don't think Lerone Murphy is doing the Ilia Topuria where he's dancing around him for 25 minutes doing a total outclassing. He's showed that he has flaws, and he's showed, and I know it's, average to have flaws and shit, but, like, this is the featherweight division. This is, like, the best of the best. Like, would you really pick Lerone Murphy to, like, beat Diego Lopez right now? No. But I think here is a spot in the featherweight rankings for him, and lightweight's probably in his future, too, because he cuts a lot, and I think he would maybe be better there. I think we might see a Charles Oliveira renaissance for Lerone Murphy if he moves up to lightweight. But anyways, Magomed Ankalaev versus Alexander Rakic. Now, there was a lot of mixed opinions about this fight. A lot of people were saying it's boring. A lot of people saying it wasn't that bad. But I am in the opinion that it was boring. Now, the thing about these guys, they're pretty good at striking and all that. But they just have way too much respect for each other in this fight. Alexander Rakic, his ability in the UFC that makes him dangerous is his explosivity and his ways of just like randomly like exploding at the light heavyweight division against all these fat dudes and just exploding, hitting a really powerful shot. He's like jacked and shit and doing some like Looney Tune shenanigan shit like he was doing against Yuri Prohaska. And in this fight, he just seemed to have way too much respect for Magomed Ankalaev. He really wasn't throwing anything too hard. He was kind of trying to counter on these combinations. Magomed was kind of running at him, just primarily striking, doing his Dagestani boxing. You can't really blame Magomed, but Alexander Rakic, I thought he was going to put up a much better fight on the feet, but it just seemed like he wasn't able to connect with anything. He was kind of just trying to land counter combos, which wasn't really working. He wasn't really landing anything, and his leg kicks were doing a lot. Magomed wasn't really checking him, but I guess he's not as powerful as Jan Blachowicz because Blachowicz' kicks were fucking Magomed up, and Rakic didn't even make Ankalaev sweat a little bit with those kicks. So I just think Rakic needs to improve his striking. I thought he was way better in that Yuri Prohaska fight. I know Yuri's open, but he was landing a lot of shots, and I don't think Magomed has that good a defense. So I don't know. I just think Rakic, I expect a lot more from him. His physique, you would expect him to be this like light heavyweight champion by now. He's like 6'5", this like predominant striker with like really well-rounded wrestling, but it's like in these fights he can't really figure it out. He'll just get in his way. It's weird. So that's my opinion on that fight. Magomed, even though I think it was kind of a mid-performance, I do think he beats Alex Pereira. I'm sorry, if you are born in Dagestan and are training wrestling when you're 3, you're going to be able to out-wrestle someone who just started MMA like 3 years ago. So I think a lot of people are counting him out. They're going to expect Magomed to go out there with Alex Pereira and just strike because that's what he's been doing in a lot of his fights. But I don't know, dude. The Dagestani wrestling is going to fuck up Alex Pereira if they end up fighting, and I do think they will soon. So that's my opinions on that fight. Now, what the fuck? Okay, yeah. Now, Robert Whittaker. Now it's putting me back to this bullshit. It's holding me hostage on the Lerone Murphy fight. Back to this bullshit. Okay. Robert Whittaker versus Khamzat Chimaev. So, I know Khamzat Chimaev. I know I'm the pump the brakes guy right now, and I apologize for being that way, but Khamzat Chimaev was having a very similar round to the Kamaru Usman round one. He was having the Robert Whitaker kind of back, while Robert Whitaker's up against the fence and he's just hanging there. And Khamzat Chimaev, the thing that I liked that he was doing, he was putting in a lot more submissions, trying to do a lot more on the ground, and against Usman, it seemed like he had a lot of respect. He knew the scrambles of Usman were deadly, and wherever he tried, like, Usman would be able to counter him in some way. And I don't think Whitaker, even though he does have good takedown defense, is as good as Usman on the ground. So Khamzat tried a lot more submissions, and it was looking a little dicey. It was round one. It was like a 3 minutes and 30 seconds. It was the same old, just Khamzat Chimaev holding him up against the fence, trying anything. And then he swoops his arm around, and then you saw the tap. You saw everything that went on. It was kind of flukish. I know Khamzat Chimaev has otherworldly strength, and I know that was impressive to show off that he's different, where he's doing these things where he doesn't even need to get the position. He's still breaking your, like, jaw, but there had to be something wrong with Robert Whitaker, like, before the fight or during the fight, where he tweaked it. I think it was almost not luck-based, but I think it definitely worked out in Khamzat Chimaev's favor that he didn't even have the choke in and Robert Whitaker's jaw was broken. I know it was a great performance, and I know Dricus, it's going to be a really enticing matchup against him, but I just don't see Khamzat Chimaev doing the same thing to Dricus, where he's just finding a position and he's just breaking his neck in a weird way. Like, I think Dricus du Plessis, he's really underrated in the wrestling department. I think he has way too good of striking and way too good of a chin to eventually, like, lose to Khamzat. I just think it was a great performance by Khamzat. It was very fortunate that Whitaker's chin broke, because if it would have gone past the first round, I think it would have been bad. And I know that's cope, but yeah, I'm not as impressed as everyone else with Khamzat's performance. Everyone's always just, like, highlighting how he got the submission and not really, like, talking about why it happened or, like, how it happened or, like, how it was kind of fluky. Like, everyone's just saying, oh, yeah, that was a great submission, even though he didn't really have the position and he just kind of had it from just pure strength, which is impressive. That's not going to work every time. So that's my opinion on that fight. Now, Ilia Topuria, he knocked out Max Holloway. Wasn't my favorite fight to watch. Can't lie. You know, while watching, saw Max Holloway have a lot of success. I was one of those fools who saw Max Holloway with his up kicks and his knee stomps, and I was like, oh yeah, he's feeling himself. This is where Max Holloway goes off. And then Ilia Topuria hits him with one shot, and it looked like a dog was getting put down. He started stumbling over himself. I don't think that's how a dog gets put down, but that's how it felt. It felt like a dog was getting put down. Anyway, Max Holloway, he just started stumbling back. Ilia Topuria is the best fighter in the UFC. I think it's confirmed now. Everyone is on the Ilia Topuria hate bandwagon, but I think you just kind of have to accept it. Just enjoy the KOs that he's doing and just be a part of it, because if you oppose Ilia Topuria and just keep on saying that this guy's shit and he'll eventually get KO'd, I think it's just going to be a bad few years for you, because Ilia Topuria, everyone in the featherweight division, it's actually crazy. I've never seen an entire division freeze in fear off of the champion's performance. Like, there wasn't any confidence coming anywhere in the prospects area. It was just straight Ilia Topuria mogging everyone. And Ilia Topuria, I think it's just, at this point, I know everyone's talking about the Islam Makhachev fight, but I think you just have to build him more with the fan base, to be honest. Like, I think like the USA fans, like, I don't know, I feel like everyone hates on Topuria, but I feel like if you market him more out here, get him more a few Vegas cards where he's in a stacked card, get him in a few great positions, he could actually be a megastar around the world. Ilia Topuria has, like, all the, you know, and he's already a star, I know that, but I don't know. The thing is, it's like, I don't see the UFC marketing anyone. So it's like, I want them to market Ilia Topuria more, but I also want them to market anyone, to be honest, except for John Jones, who fucking Dana White's, like, going to every podcast about, just raving about. Ilia Topuria is the best fighter in the UFC, in my opinion. And KOing Max Holloway, I think that's not a controversial opinion. I mean, Max Holloway never been KO'd. I did think that he did look a little. It's not even like he didn't look a little anything. He looked fine. It's just Max Holloway, like, you would expect him to be able to gain more distance, but Ilia Topuria's boxing and just his range management with his chin. His chin is crazy. Max Holloway was hitting him with the kitchen sink, and sorry it cut out for a second, but Max Holloway was hitting Ilia Topuria with the kitchen sink. Ilia Topuria was wearing the damage like it was nothing, and it was just crazy to see Ilia Topuria just continuously just hit Max Holloway with combinations, slowing. It kept on looking like Max Holloway was eating the shots. I kept on getting more and more confident about the Max Holloway decision win. But Ilia Topuria, just one of these shots that he hits will like get him. I think his mentality is there. He just has this iron mentality where he just like always believes in himself. He always looks sad for some reason. I think that's just like how his face looks, but he always has this like unwavering confidence about himself where he's gonna knock out his opponent. And it just looked like his like the confidence on him was just like kept on growing as Max Holloway like kept on landing, and he was just completely fine from it. So Ilia Topuria is the best fighter in the UFC. The more you oppose it, the worse it's gonna get for you, and it's gonna be a rough couple years of watching Ilia Topuria beat the shit out of featherweights if you dislike him. I think you should just enjoy the Ilia Topuria KOs. Just enjoy it. I know Max Holloway is the best, and it sucks, and you're just gonna have to, you're just gonna have to live with it. I think it's a cool, like, people are just like, I don't know. I think they should be more grateful about this cool moment. This is gonna go down in history. Like, Max Holloway never being KO'd, and then Ilia Topuria doing some actual, like, Conor McGregor shit. Like, that's what people don't understand. This is some, like, Conor McGregor stuff that he's doing. Beating Volk and Max Holloway, and he's becoming one of the, like, goats of the sport, so. Yeah, I'm excited to see more of him. That's the video. That's my 308 recap. Fire card, messed with it being earlier because, like, I didn't have to, like, stay up late or, like, miss anything to, like, watch it. It was just at 2, and then I could, like, do shit for the rest of the day. So I hope the UFC continues doing stuff like that. Maybe not in Abu Dhabi. Do it in other places, please. That's the video. I hope you enjoyed. I'll be dropping my card prediction for Moreno and Albazi tomorrow, so stay tuned for that. And rest in peace, Max Holloway. And I'll see you.